Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of you who are joining us today. I'm super excited that we're here for another episode of Blue TV. I always do the same intro because, again, I think it's so super cool that now in these days and times, it does not matter where we are across the world. We can all join in and tune in at the same time, same place. So I am here in Houston, Texas. Wendy, where are you from?
I am from South Florida, the Delray Beach area. Originally New York, but now in South
Nice.
Florida.
Yes, you can hear the New Yorker accent in there. I can't even pretend to know I can't even pretend to mimic that, but you can hear the New York accent. So we would love to know where everyone else is located. So I am going to type it in the comments below. Let us know where where you're tuning in from. In the meantime, I do want to welcome you again for being here. We do these every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Central Time, which is Houston, Texas. The goal of these episodes is really just to share some amazing people that I have met here on LinkedIn and learn a little bit about them, but as well then share some of the success that they've had here on LinkedIn so that you too can learn from them. So you learn about them and from them, because look, we're all here playing the LinkedIn game, and how do we get better at it, right? How do we hone in on what we do and how do we effectively leverage LinkedIn? So that's really what our goal is. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time doing Wendy's introduction. She can do that herself, but I do want to share how I met Wendy. So first off, I've known Wendy for a little bit of time as it relates to just her content. So she's been around, right? As we all know, I've been around. So in combination, we've come across each other. She also has this amazing group of individuals that she's with where they provide their own audio events on a regular weekly basis. I'll let her go into all of that with you and share as she shares more about herself. But we met in another group here more recently where we had an opportunity to engage a bit more. And I am so excited to share as much as we can about Wendy, or allow her to share as much as she can about herself. So I'm going to do her a disservice if I do that. If I introduce her instead. Wendy, I'm going to pass it on over to you. And why don't you tell everyone a little bit about who you are and what you do, and then we will go from there.
Sure. Well, first I want to say we've seen each other on LinkedIn. We've seen each other content, and it's because of LinkedIn and sharing things, and then the continual growth, right? Because you grow, you continue to do things, you join different groups, and you get to know each other on a deeper level. And I like to then, if I really connect with somebody, try and take it to a Zoom call just to say, who are you? What do you do? And how can I be of service to you? Maybe there's somebody I know in my network that could use your services or your advice or whatever. So that's one of the things I love about network, is the real connections that are being made. And I guess my introduction for those people I haven't met before, my name is Wendy Shore. It rhymes with entrepreneur. I don't think so.
It's close enough. I like it.
My journey has been an iteration of different consulting type work. After I left the restaurant and hospitality industry, I work with small businesses, but I also work with individuals who are subject matter experts or industry professionals who are looking to start their own coaching or consulting business, have an expertise, but don't really know about running their own business and all the foundation and idiosyncrasies that come along with it. They're great at what they do. Mm-hmm. But they're not sure the next steps to take to really have a profitable and sustainable business that aligns with their lifestyle and their business goals. So
that's interesting that you say that, Wendy, or that you offer those services. Because if I look at entrepreneurs right now, it seems like they are every day there's a new entrepreneur coming onto the scene. And if you look at the stats then associated with those entrepreneurs who start a business and then who fail, they have a great solution, like they're an expert in what they do, but actually being able to execute that so that it's, as you mentioned, a profitable business seems the biggest challenge of anything, right? How do they market themselves? How do they turn their expertise into a service offering that actually makes them some money?
And being an entrepreneur it's a lot of work, right? And anybody who tells you that it's not is not being real. If they tell you you're going to work 3 hours a week and make $1 million, and it's not going to happen. Not right away. Could it happen? And could you build a business that down the road you're working less and you're traveling more and you're still making, income? Yes, that is a definite possibility. But you have to start and you have to put in the work up front. So where do you start? What are the steps you take? And I spent 25 years in the restaurant business and I built 7
Oh,
restaurants. And
wow.
thank you. There's I had a formula, I had a system, I had a specific goal in mind, what I wanted to bring. And of course, I had a passion for making people happy with food. So, I took that and I translated it when I left the restaurant business, and I really left for health reasons. I just really got burnt out, and um, it became too much
Hmm.
after 25 something years working around the clock. And I started consulting. And at first, I started restaurant consulting. And
Hmm.
so here's going to be a little bit of a tip. Just because you have an expertise and you can offer a service to somebody does not mean that it's the right thing, because what you're doing, or the portion in that industry of what you're doing, the people who you're marketing to may not be able to pay for it.
Yep.
And so what I found in the restaurant business was, when I found people who were starting out and they had their budget and whatever, it was great. I can help them, and I help many become successes. But for the most part, the people who are looking for a consultant are people who tried it on their own and they're at the end and they don't know what to do next, but they can't really afford to pay you. So they need you, and you have a service you can offer them, but it's not really a good business model, because if you can't make money doing it, and I found myself really wanting to help people. And so I put in all this time and effort to help them. And some people don't even listen because they're not really paying. If you're not paying, you're not paying attention.
Yep.
So it's finding the right service, the right product for the right market, and then all the steps that come with it.
I love that, and that really is a great segue into our overall topic, which I'm going to mess up, the LinkedInpreneur.
I love it. The LinkedInpreneur.
Yeah. So where'd that come from? I love that, because most of us are here. I mean, heck, you're watching us here on LinkedIn. So the LinkedInpreneur. I love that.
So it started, I first heard it from somebody who has a huge following on LinkedIn, Shanae
Mhm.
Murray. And then I started seeing it popping up on different articles that I read. And I love the name because I felt like I identified with that. I am definitely an entrepreneur. I've always had the entrepreneurial spirit. And LinkedIn is what I call home now, right? I love being on LinkedIn. I love giving advice and learning and connecting and networking. So I just think the title is appropriate, LinkedInpreneur, right?
I loved it. I love
Yes.
it. LinkedInpreneur, and really tips, or LinkedInpreneur growth and strategy, right? Or strategy and growth. Got to have
Right.
strategy before you can have growth, right?
And impact, growth and impact.
Growth and impact, growth in with a
Growth and impact.
strategy. Yes, growth and impact. So I love that we're here to talk about that, because most of us are spending, I mean, those of us that are paying attention, we're here on LinkedIn, right? LinkedIn is a method in which we can gain a lot of our clients, and market to, so that we gain those clients. If we're talking about, growth and impact, what are some of the things that, when you bring on a new client, obviously you mentioned one key aspect is making sure you have a service that is actually quantifiable, right? So that you can make money with. Is that the first thing that you look at, is what is the service that they're offering, or what are the first things that you really review when you're working and engaging with a client?
Well, I want to know what their expertise is, and they could have expertise in multiple areas. And then I want to know what they're most passionate about, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then we figure out where they can make money with that, and that's kind of like, if you do like a Venn diagram, and somewhere in the middle is like the perfect service or offering. But the other thing is, so once we kind of figure that out, then we start working towards a niche. And for years I heard people say niche down, niche down, niche down. And I'm not niching down. I'm a multi-potentialite. I have expertise in so many
I
areas.
like that. You come up with some great words. Multi-potentialite.
Multi-potential. By the way, every week I have a Wendy's Wednesday word of the week.
She can't even get it out. That's awesome. Wendy's Wednesday word of the
Word of
week.
the week. I think I changed it because it was hard to say to Wendy's word of the week Wednesday. But it's so every week I'm going to do a word. So maybe next week it'll be multi-potentialite. Today it was gamut, because
Yep.
running like the full gamut, right? Where did that
I
come
like
from? What
that.
does that mean?
Yeah, I like that.
So yeah, so I never wanted to niche down, right? Because I would say that I have all this experience and all this expertise and I can help so many people. Why would I want to put myself in a box, right? Why would I want to limit myself? And everybody who said niche down, they don't know what the riches are in the niches, or you heard that. But here's the thing, and this is what I found. When you try to be everything to everybody, you really wind up being nothing to nobody.
I know that so well. Not I personally, but I know someone who has marketed themselves in so many areas that they actually aren't an expert in any one of them any longer because they've spread themselves too thin.
And what happens is people stop listening. So let's say, I know you talk about AI, and I really want to talk about that in a moment. But if you're talking about AI to your audience and the different things that are going on, and then you start talking about how to read financial statements, the people who are interested in AI are not going to listen to you. Now,
Unless
you
you can
may
correlate the two, right?
how to use AI to read financial statements or to generate financial statements. Yes, absolutely. But if you start talking about the importance of finances, or the importance of reading, when you start talking about too many different things, people stop listening because they only pay attention to the things that pertain to them.
Yep.
And that is why you wind up talking to nobody. So that is why I really sort of niche down. And I think I can continue to niche down, as I work with people and as I, working with entrepreneurs one-on-one, and my next step is a group coaching. That was actually an evolution from Clubhouse. And getting online, and how important it is to have a presence here on LinkedIn or anywhere. But for me as a business person, and if you're a business person, LinkedIn, because when you're behind the scenes and doing all the work and nobody knows who you are, when the world shut down like it did for the pandemic and
Yep.
nobody knew where I was, I then had to start making a personal brand for myself.
Which I think is so super sad that we're at a point where we're still struggling with individuals, especially in the corporate world, and their ability to effectively strategize or put a strategy together around personal branding. But I wanted to go back. There's so many things to uncover in some of the things that you already mentioned. Like if we talk about niching down and what you talk about, right? So for me, I talk about sales, AI, and humanity, how to bring those three together. So I do talk about some of those things individually, but somehow I always bring them together. I talk about how sales, the value of leveraging AI technologies within sales, but then still retaining the human element, the human aspect, creating that human experience, right? So for me, like I'll do my Celevators live. I have a bunch of lives. I'm crazy like that, which is a whole other thing we could unpack, right? Which is spending time on your preferred platform, right? But if I think about, I do a sales related live on Tuesdays, which is all sales and it's Celevators. Then I do my Cafe AI chats on Wednesdays, which is all AI. And then I have simple coffees with Denise on Fridays, which is the humanity aspect of it. And they do seem a bit disparate when I do each of them, those activities. But when I talk about in content, when I generate content outside of those lives, I try to bring them all together so that everyone understands, what I'm trying to message, which is leverage AI. AI is really freaking cool if it's used in the right way. But in sales, when you leverage it, let's still factor in the humans that need to deliver that process, the sales process to the individual, because buyers still today, and 90% of buying decisions are emotionally based, right?
Oh
So
yeah.
that's how I've kind of brought it together. But again, they could be three disparate topics if I and I do, and they kind of are sometimes in the lives, but I figure out a way in my actual content that is text or video outside of lives to try to bring them together.
And so I'm imagining, right, that you were an expert in sales and that was your thing. And then
Yes.
AI came along and you started diving in and deep diving and became an expert in that field. And you're like, now I love the two of them and I'm intermarrying them. And I want to talk to people about that. And I also think it's really important that the human element is always in there. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it's crucial because first of all, there has to be a human behind the AI always.
Yes.
AI is not really, at least I don't think, capable of. You had a post earlier today. What was that post? Something about wit? Did you have
About
a
what?
post earlier today? So I was reading a post. I thought it was yours, but they were talking about AI having wit, right? Like AI
Oh no,
can't.
that was not me. No.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. So, but AI can't have wit right now. Maybe down the road. I don't know. It
We're
can.
getting there.
It can.
Transhumanism, AGI, we're getting closer. But
Yeah. Nice. Oh my God. I was listening on Clubhouse with the AGI, the announcement. Yeah, it's crazy. Crazy
it is
what's going
crazy.
on.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing. I think it's really super important. And I think people need to know about it. And I think they need to be following you and just listening to what you're saying, right? So that they can keep up with it, right? Even if it's not their wheelhouse, even if it's not their main focus, because it's gonna enter every part of our life, right?
It is. It is.
And whether you wanted to or not.
But I'll share a story, and I don't usually on the lives, they're not about me, and I usually don't talk about what I do necessarily. But I do think this is important in context for what you do, right? You, as someone who teaches entrepreneurs how to find their, figure out their expertise, find their niche, then get out there and market and expand their offering, and all the things that they have to do in between and before and after all of that, right? So if I relate that, if I think back to when I first launched my business, I'd been in the corporate world. I spent over 30 years in sales, and I was really darn good at it, right? Mastered some key components within the sales process that's the main focus for my program. That being said, when I first launched my business, it was Success with AI. What I thought was I could go out with Success with AI and I could really educate people on the value and benefits of leveraging AI technologies, but then the negative implications should we not retain the human element in all of that, right? And I thought that's going to pay me money. What I found out was I'm not an influencer and I am not a thought leader. And so unless you are one of those two, evangelism does not pay you SHIT. And so I then had to pivot, and let me qualify that I spent 30 years in sales, or over 30, but the latter part of that I spent in machine learning, AI, and automation. So I had this extensive, so 15 plus years in selling those technologies. And my differentiator amongst my peers or other salespeople was that I truly understood the product I was selling and the business outcomes that we were trying to achieve. So I could have intelligent, credible conversations with my buyers without having to bring in a software engineer. So that therein just fostered this enthusiasm and love and excitement centered around AI, right? So it was when I launched Success with AI, it was like, okay, I know AI, I love AI, I'm passionate about it, and I want everyone else to be as passionate, but still understand the negative implications if we're not engaged with it. It should be augmenting and not and not replacing. So then I realized that I'm not going to make any money. Took me
Mhm.
like a year to figure that out, right?
Yep. Yep.
Um, and so then I was like, okay, if I think about then where I was really good at, was really good at sales. We're introducing AI into the sales processes. How do we do that more effectively? So that's when I hired then a business coach to extract all my sales data. And that's when I created a program. But it took me a year before I could actually get to a point where I realized what I originally started my business for wasn't going to work. I wasn't going to
Right.
make any money, that I needed to figure out then how to extract another specific area that I'm super good at, and then how do I marry the two? So that's just kind of a little bit of a challenge that I had to go through. And I think this really falls into how you help others and coach them so that they don't do what I did first off and spend a year kind of wallowing and not knowing what to do, right?
Well, you know what? Literally had this conversation earlier today, but there's two types of currencies, really. There's time and there's money,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you can spend the time and take the year, and hopefully you do figure it out. Not everybody does, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's because of your business background. So it takes time. Or you find the right person to work with, and you're paying them for their expertise. They're paying them to get you there faster because they've already done the legwork, they've already made the missteps. They kind of have a big picture understanding of what you're going through, and they help, like you said, extract it out from you. So, time or money helps you go either way it costs you, right? Because if
It
you're not
does
making
cost.
money, you're still you're losing money,
Yes, because
right?
you're spending it. You got to spend it in order to support the business. So you're good. I always say, I wish. So I had at that time when I quit the corporate world, I went to my husband and I said, Andreas, do you mind if I'd always wanted to start my own business and I tried a couple of different things on the side. It's like, do you mind if I quit and I launch my own business? And he was like, what's that going to be? I'm like, okay, well, here's my concept. Okay. So I said, well, will you support me? And he's like, okay, I don't really know what that means, but okay. Right. So he was kind of freaked out about it. He didn't really understand what that meant. But, and I did have a coach at the time, but he was a little unfamiliar with the AI space and didn't really know how to effectively help me. So what I took away from and he helped me in other areas though. So it wasn't at all, my lack of ability to effectively execute that first year had nothing to do with him, but it was because I didn't have the right person at that very moment to help me figure out how to extract what I knew and how to put it into an actual practice, like you said, or a service offering, right? And I wish I'd have done that sooner. So one of the recommendations I always say is even the best of us always need coaches. It doesn't matter how good you are, we always need a coach. And I would say when you are in the phase where you're trying to decide, do I move into an entrepreneurial role or not? I would say hire a business coach, and one that's specific to what you're trying to achieve, right? I mean, my coach at the time was amazing, helped me with all aspects of the business, but couldn't help me with that particular offering, which caused me to flounder for so long.
And sometimes you need multiple coaches, right? Sometimes you just need one. I just want to point out to what Nikki said, time cost us opportunity, evaluating ROI just as valid. Absolutely. Right. And also if you're spending the time trying to figure out, like, opportunities are missed sometimes, right? Because
Yes.
you need to be able to act and pivot and move quickly. Sometimes. And sometimes you need to sit back and evaluate and do your testing and see,
Yep.
what's resonating, and I also think it's interesting because sometimes, like you said, you have this great idea, right? And you're like, this is it. This is it. And then crickets, right? Because the market's not ready. And the other thing that I have learned, and I think as a, sales expert, you'll appreciate this, you can never sell people what they need. You
Nope.
have to sell them what they want.
You actually have to sell them based on the problems that they're trying to solve to.
Right. Right.
Right.
Correct. But they'll never buy what they need. Like if you say you need this and they do need it, they'll know. But what
Oh
do they
yeah.
want? And the one is the problem. It's to end the pain, the suffering, or to get to a certain place, right? So
Yes.
that was another thing. And sales, again, I was not I didn't consider myself a good salesperson, right? I suck at sales. But then what I started realizing is that you have a service or product that people need. And actually somebody said to me that was like kind of this mind blown. They said, Wendy, you're being really selfish. I'm like, excuse me?
Mhm.
And they're like,
Yep.
if you don't go out there and tell people what you have and how you can help them, that's just selfish. And where I thought if I talked about myself and what I did, it was self-serving, they reframed it as, no, that's selfish.
Well, I mean, when you think about it, we are all, frou or not, believe in Heavenly Father, the universe, nothing at all, whatever. We are all given gifts. And so it's our responsibility to share those gifts with people, right? And you can't share them if no one knows what the heck they are.
Agreed. Agreed. right? You have to let people know what you've accomplished and what you do.
Exactly, because we all learn from one another, and there are enough of us who want to learn, such that there are enough of us out there who can share our experiences so they can learn, because everyone learns a bit differently. They connect with different people. So who their ideal person is that they want to work with might be you, it might be someone else, but there's enough of us out there for us to share gifts with the right people. So we attract the right people and they attract the right coaches, vendors, whatever, right?
Absolutely. And I also feel that when you're working on your business and your messaging, you being authentic attracts your customer, right? Your people, but it also repels the people that are not your people, right?
Yes.
Because not everybody is your a good fit for you, right? And so it could actually bring your business down if you decide to try and work with somebody who's not a good fit for you. Like for me, if you're not willing to do the work, you're not going to be a good fit for me, because I'll show up for you, but I used to be that person who wanted it for people more than they wanted it for themselves. And I realized I couldn't do that, right? I can't want something for you more than you want it for yourself. So you have to be willing to put in the work, and I will be there 100%, you know.
Which would be a question I would want to ask you, because what I find is more people talk about wanting to actually put in the work, but then when they are tasked with actually doing the work, they seem to fall short, right? What has your experience been in general when you bring on a client of the many entrepreneurs that you work with? What do you think the percentage is of those that actually want to work before you have to weed them out?
Well, the people that I work with, I've had really good luck with. But I'm not sure how that's going to translate when I want to do group coaching. And the reason I want to do group coaching is because, like I tell my people, right, in order to expand and to be able to make an impact by helping more people, I can't continue to do it one on one because I only have so much time, right? So if I help a group of people and I give them the tools and whatever they need, then they can help other people and they can help and it's like this ripple effect that goes so
Yeah.
far you can't even really see it. And that is like, for me, that's my legacy that I want to create. So going back to the question, I think there's a lot of messaging about, we mentioned it earlier, this overnight success and you don't need to do the work. And so in a conversation with somebody, if I say, it's time, it's effort, it's work, and we're meeting, weekly, and where there's homework, right? And you have to be willing to do that. Um, and it's not inexpensive, right? It is an investment, but it's not inexpensive. So are you willing to invest in yourself, which is money and time, but for the best outcome? Because if not, then I don't want to work with you. I had somebody, a mistake I made was I do a 12-week program, and they wanted to meet every other week because they had a lot on their plate. And I did. And it all got off kilter because the momentum didn't grow, right? There's momentum
Yeah.
in it. So um that was a lesson for me learned. Don't do that again, right? So percentage wise, I've been lucky, but I think in general, I don't think people realize the amount of work it actually takes. So I would probably say, if I had to venture a guess, somewhere between 30 and 40% stick with it.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
actually not a whole heck of a high number considering the amount of people who are actually going down this entrepreneurial path today. So if you look at the numbers of those that are, and I don't know what they are specifically, they're pretty high though, and if you look at
Yes.
those comparatively to only a 30 to 40% success rate, it's really low. That's a lot of people who aren't successful. So so we talked a little bit about impact, right? So part of and so I'm going to assume, and I think I'm going to summarize what I think you mean by impact, and you can tell me if I'm incorrect. But when we talk about impact, you're talking about, okay, let's figure out what you're good at, where your expertise is, right? And then how do you package that into a product or service offering? That's the impact aspect of it, correct?
Well, the impact aspect is, first we productize it, right? We turn their insights into an offering, but then a lot of the people I work with are coaches and consultants themselves. And so then they're helping other people. And if done right, they're helping other people.
Yeah.
And that's the
Okay.
impact, you know? So I
Gotcha.
make an impact on my client's life, that they're leading a life that they want, but then they're out there helping other people. And then they're out there helping other people.
Got it. Okay. And then when you talk about growth, it's not only growth as in sharing kind of your impact, but also growth as it relates to, expanding your so that you're bringing in the revenues that you want. You're achieving the expected financial goals that you're looking to achieve. Fair.
Absolutely. And financial freedom. And, one of the things I help people work with, horrible word I'm going to say next, budget.
Um,
We work on a budget. But I had a friend who said, budget stands for, baby, you deserve to get everything.
Oh, I
And
love that.
and we just reframe it to, you know, let's figure out where your money's where you want your money to go instead of wondering where it went. And
I
we
like
work with
that.
what you have. Your numbers are your numbers, regardless of whether you know them or not. So let's work with them. Let's figure out what you have, and let's figure out how we can best use the money to expand your business, right? Because, I've seen people throw money at advertising, but they don't have their product yet. What are you doing?
Mhm.
Right? So there's a lot of what you have to figure out up front. And once you get those processes in place, things go easier. And then it's listening to your audience and figuring out what they want, and, doing tests. If you're going to launch a product, do a test. Don't go all out, develop a, 12-week program and nobody buys it. Do the outline for a 12-week program, figure out what you're going to talk about, and see if that's what people want.
I like that. If you were to consider, though, in all of the people that you've been working with, what do you think is one of the traits that helps one of the traits, what do you think makes them the most successful? I think, is it that they've succumbed to, and I use that word because that's what most of us, that's what I used before, but had to succumb to paying for a coach, because that seems like, for most people, it seems like this horrible thing that they've got to pay for a coach, when in actuality it is probably the best thing you can ever do, is to hire a coach. So I use the word succumb only in terms of the way people view them overall, but I think the term should be investing in yourself. So when you invest in a coach, right, is it the invest, do you think that the most successful is that they've invested in a coach? Do you think it's that they've truly understood their niche? Is it that they've got a product offering that no one else has? Is it that they've figured out how to best market on platforms like LinkedIn? What do you think, in looking at all your success clients, what is there one trait or one aspect that has really been a common thread amongst them all that has led to their success?
Well, first, for all the questions you asked, yes, 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 and yes. But I think the biggest trait is stick-to-itness, right? Because things don't happen overnight.
Which,
Overnight
by the way,
successes,
Wendy comes up with her own words. So stick to itness.
right? I'll enrich your word power, and I'll have my own dictionary.
Yeah. So remember, she's got Wendy's word of the week Wednesdays, right?
Right. Right, exactly. Because it pays to enrich your word power. Do you remember that from Reader's Digest magazine? I'm giving away my
No,
age.
but I used to
Um,
read Reader's Digest,
yeah.
so I
So
used to love
every
it.
month they had it pays to enrich your word power, and they would
Okay.
have a series of words, right? And then they would ask you a quiz, like what's the meaning of it, and then you flipped it over and you were able to see it. And I remember in the restaurant, we would pick a word of the day, and it only went on for a short time, but the word that always stuck with me was quagmire, right? Which
Quagmire.
is, I'm such a quagmire. It's like a predicament, right? Like craziness. So in the middle of craziness, my server would come up and go, "Oh, I'm in such a quagmire," and like we'd laugh. And so
That's awesome.
it
That's
was a
awesome. By
great.
the way, we date ourselves when we talk about Reader's Digest, because how long has that not even been around any longer?
Oh, I don't know, but I loved it. I loved it. I
I
don't
did
know
too.
why. Yeah.
I loved it
Um,
too.
things change. Things change.
Okay, so but stick to itness is what you said, right?
Right, because things
That's the
take
one
time.
common thing.
Yes, very few overnight successes. Can it
Mhm.
happen? Yes, it can. Um, Mostly it doesn't. it's strategy, and it's doing the work that has to be done to get it where it needs to be. And again, you see these people that seem like they're overnight successes, but they've done all the work, right? They put in the time, they've tried different things, and this worked a little bit well, and this worked very well, and so now let's expand on this because it's working. And that's where you get to the success. And I think of it like actors, right? All of a sudden you see this actor in a movie and you're like, they're great, and it just seems like they came out of nowhere. But then you look at their IMDb and they were on, like, I don't know, Murder She Wrote, or guest appearances
They
on
have a
Law and
long
Order.
history of experiences that got them to this point.
Exactly. But you didn't know them then, or you didn't really recognize them then, but now you know who they are. So that's, I think, what happens. And that's what I think people have to understand, that it takes time and effort. And, how many go-sees did those actors go on, right? How many times did they get turned down for a role?
Mm-hmm.
And now they are whoever they are, right? So I think that's really important to keep in mind, that you have to have the gumption to keep going.
Well,
And
and for
believe in yourself.
those, I agree. And I think, so to me, that's resilience. It's perseverance, right?
Yep.
And it's being okay with understanding that a no or a failure is really something that you learn from.
Right.
And it improves and enables you to do better as you move forward. So I think those are all key. But let's talk briefly about, because I know we're running short on time. We want to be respectful of everyone's time that they're spending here with us today. I think that you've seen a tremendous amount of success on LinkedIn. Otherwise, you wouldn't be using the terminology LinkedInpreneur, another Wendy's word. Actually, that's not really her word. She adopted it from someone else, and she already gave kudos to that person that she adopted to at the beginning of the show. But LinkedInpreneurs, if we're talking about where we're spending our time, we're here going live on LinkedIn. What do you think has enabled you to be able to make such an impact on so many people leveraging LinkedIn? What do you think has been your consistency, or is it consistency, or is it something else? What has enabled you to really see success here that has allowed you to expand your impact to so many people?
If I had to pick one thing, it's coming from a place of service. Every post, I didn't even say follow me in the beginning, or there was no call to action. It was literally just, how can I help my community? What information can I share that could help somebody? Right.
Yep.
And I would put my thoughts down or my knowledge down, and I would just post about, obviously, entrepreneur related, because that's who I am. That's how I think. It's not just what I do, it is really who I am. So sharing knowledge for the sake of sharing knowledge, as opposed to, look at me, buy from me. Like, I have offerings. I very rarely talk about them. When I launch the group coaching, I will talk about it, but it's not going to be in every post, right? We talked about the difference between inbound and outbound. I'm definitely that inbound person. Please reach out to me if you want to work with me. Come call me. I give free consultations. I give direction where you could go. And then if we want to take the relationship further, great. If not, if I've helped you a little bit, yeah, let somebody know. Give me a review. That
Lead
would be
with
great.
serving. Lead with serving.
Service and gratitude. Yep.
I love that. And I say I love that a lot, especially throughout this episode. But it is so true. I mean, I think I live by that as well. It's important for us to lead with service, because I think it shows who we are. It shows our heart. It shows that we care. And people in the end want to work with real people that they know care about them. So, and they want to do that with people that they know have credibility. So it's no longer just a know, like, and trust. It's know, like, and trust with credibility. So they're not going to know that you're credible unless you're sharing some of that free information on a platform like LinkedIn. So just for you to come up and say, oh, I've spent 30 years in sales. Well, so what? I mean, so has the next person, right? What makes you so much more credible than someone else, right? And that's where sharing tips like what I do in my sales program is important, because then they know that I'm building credibility with them. But I'm also giving them free advice, which is fine. I don't mind doing that because that's part of who I am. If you
Right.
lead with service, you will find those people and they will be attracted to you, and you will end up doing more business that way than if you just go out and sell transactionally without servicing, without providing a service.
I think the information, the post, the content, the free, information, working with you is so that there's a little bit of accountability and what do I do next? Because even if you tell people with so much information, what seems second nature to you is confusing to people who haven't gone through it yet. So
Mhm.
working with you is why they pay to be closer, to get closer to you, right? But the information, listen, there's YouTube University, there's, Google, but nobody does it like you. And so that's why people want to get closer to you, and they also want to hear from you. What are you saying? How are you saying it? It's going to resonate with somebody, and that is the service that you offer. And then work with you is how you make your money so that you can continue to offer the service.
So if you were to leave maybe an LinkedInpreneur tip to anyone who's out there looking to, either start their entrepreneurial journey or are in their journey right now and struggling, what's one tip that you would suggest to them right now at this point?
Related to business or related to LinkedIn?
Related to business first. We're going to hit LinkedIn next.
Okay, related to business first, I would say, are you really clear on what it is that you're offering and doing? Or is it, here's another word, ready? Ungepatched, right? Is it all mishmash together? I
Ungapash.
love the word
Okay, she's got
ungepash.
all these words. Ungapash.
Ungepash, right? So, because if you're not clear on your offering and your message, then people
Mhm.
aren't going to pay attention. So is that what's going on? So maybe you really need to sit down and take stock of what it is you're really doing, and figure out if if you're doing too many things, you're all over the place. You're not concentrating. Do the one thing that's going to make you the most money, that you're the most passionate about, and then worry about doing other things.
I like that. What about then from a LinkedIn perspective? I mean, we've both spent a tremendous amount of time on here. We've seen things that work, we've seen things that don't work. We've tried our own our own strategies that we've seen either fail or succeed. What do you think is one good solid tip that as an entrepreneur and you're embarking on this journey that you need to adopt as it relates to LinkedIn?
Well, first of all, I'd say just get started, right? A lot of people are afraid to hit that post button.
Yeah.
There's a nervousness. Um, and I'll just tell you, when I started with the collaborative articles. LinkedIn.com/advice or /advice, LinkedIn.com/advice. Pick your subject matter, pick one that you're an expert in, and start contributing. That'll get you comfortable you don't have to think about what to write first. There's a question there. You contribute your thought to it. And from there, maybe expand upon that, like do a post on it. And don't worry about what other people think. Just be you, help other people. If you could help one person that makes a difference in their life, then all the work you did, it's really worth it. And so just get going and get started.
The only other thing I would say too is over the course of the last 2 years, and I've been on LinkedIn since 2006. I think I went and looked at the date. I think it's 2006, but it wasn't until 2020 when I actually probably wrote my first post. And then it wasn't until 2022 that I really honed in and started to get super active. And as I started to post, I mean, my posts sucked. Hell, I think sometimes I still need to work on my storytelling and my content, right? But it's evolved over time because I first just started. Everyone is going to be terrible at the beginning unless writing is your gig, right? Or storytelling is where you're phenomenal at. Most people are going to struggle when they first start. If you can just execute, no one really cares. No one remembers what I wrote 2 years ago. They only really remember what I'm writing now. I mean, you think about it, there's so much information out there. It's information overload. They're not going to remember 2 years ago. They're only going to remember what you do now and only for a brief moment. So what you generate today may be terrible, but by the time you get, a week from now, 2 weeks from now, 2 months from now, 2 years from now, your content will have evolved such that it will start to become more refined, and you'll get better at it. And then you'll have people, as you go through that process, you'll have people who are engaging with it that will help you foster that. And you'll get to a point where you feel really good about your content. Right. I mean, but it is all about executing.
And don't worry about the number of followers, the number of people that are engaging. You want to have engagement, yes, right? But sometimes on LinkedIn, the people who don't engage are the people who are watching you, maybe because they're afraid to engage, or maybe because of their business they can't. So just keep going. And if it makes you feel good to post that content, just post it, right? It's not about what other people think. And again, if you help one person and you do get better and you write better and you think differently, and then you're seeing more people's content and you're like, oh, I like that. But write how you speak, because that's how people read it, right? You don't need to write. You're not writing a novel, right? You're not looking for a Nobel Prize. You want to just share your knowledge and help people. So just write as you speak, at least to start, and then you can tweak it and follow Wendy's Word of the Week Wednesday, and then you'll
and learn new words.
Learn new words that you can use in your next post.
That's awesome. So I'm going to pull up, Nikki had a question. So as I pull up her question, sorry, my mouse kind of stopped for a minute. She said, have you noticed webinars and videos made a difference in building relationships and converting leads?
I think if you do a couple of videos, people get to see the real you, and they know that you're not just a bot, and you're not, you're human, not just AI. You're the human side. I think the lives have helped for sure. I do live audio room. I think, Nikki, if I had to say, I'd say a combination of everything is really it. Videos, lives, audio, and just static posts. I think a little bit of everything.
And this is not my area of expertise like it is Wendy's, but in relation to sales, right? In the context of sales, the two things I talk about are visibility and credibility. And doing the webinars and the videos and the lives, they give you visibility. And then when you're sharing your message, it's building credibility. So I think the more you can do that, the more you can get out there. It will give you an opportunity to expand your reach, create that visibility, and then lead with, provide them credibility such that they'll come and seek you out. So I do think in the end, it does offer a lot as it relates to potential leads and opportunities working with other people. Just my personal opinion.
And then as the business growth strategist, I'll have to add the visibility leads to credibility, which leads to profitability.
Oh, I love that. Visibility, credibility, profitability. Love it. All right. Well, I want to be respectful of everyone's time. I want to thank everyone for joining us today. We had an opportunity to learn about Wendy, her kind of her journey here in her role to entrepreneurship. We also learned a little bit about what she does. So if you are a LinkedInpreneur and you are looking to either become better at it, so expand your business, refine your business, or if you just are wanting to embark down that journey, she is your go-to person to reach out to. And she shared some really great tips. We've had some good conversation about how to do that here on LinkedIn, because this is where we all are. This is where our opportunities are stemming from. So I want to thank everyone for spending the time here. Wendy, as we leave everyone, I want you to please just share with everyone where they can find you. You can see on the bottom that that her handle is there, but anywhere else that they can find you.
So sure. I am at my website, which is a little bit under construction right now, just but still, please feel free to visit, is Shore Advice. So my last name, Shore, and then advice, shoreadvice.com. You connect with me here on LinkedIn. You can connect with me on Facebook and Instagram. I'm there, although not as often. But whatever you like, just reach out to me. And if you have any questions, message me. I'm happy to meet with anybody. And just follow me for tips and tricks on how to grow your business. And of course, make sure that you're following Denise here. And we look forward to seeing you on the LinkedIn streets.
And I was trying to get her. She also offers a weekly audio event. When do you do your audio events?
So every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Eastern, and this is about the networking and building connections and collaborating. So it's myself, Aurea McGarry, and Rachel Weaver, and we alternate. So every third week is mine, and then it's Aurea, and we're usually business growth, speaking for profit, and showing up a lot of PR and branding information in those rooms. So please feel free to join us. And I just wanted to say, Pedro, thank you. And thank you for tuning in from Brazil. So we have Brazil in the house, and thank you. And Nikki, of course, always great to see you. And for anybody watching after this is live, we hope we can help you in any way, shape, or form. And it's just great to be here. And thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here. And again, reminder, thank you to every one of you that joined us. If you're joining in Team Replay, just put hashtag Team Replay and we will see those comments and engage with you. Otherwise, we'll see you back here every Wednesday, 11 a.m. Central, where we have a guest. We talk about what they do, as well as some LinkedIn tips. We appreciate everyone for being here. You can find me on my next live tomorrow. Actually, I'm doing an audio event tomorrow called the Profit Trio. So it is at 10 a.m. Central. And then I do Coffee with Denise on Friday at 10 a.m. Central. So look forward to seeing everyone here sometime this week, at the very least next Wednesday. And I'm wishing everyone a wonderful, happy hump day.
And I also want to tell people Tuesdays at 4 p.m. Eastern, we have LinkedIn Mastery with myself, Bobby Umar, and as well as Melanie Mitchell Wexler and Rachel Simon. So if you want to get LinkedIn tips and tricks, come join us Tuesdays.
Awesome.
Thank
you. All right, we're signing off. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
I'm going to end the stream. Stay with me for a minute.
Yes, absolutely.